To this week's showing, December the 3rd, 2023, of the Fall Indy Car Road Series here at Lanes Raceway. It's supposed to start at 3 o'clock. We're about 6 minutes past 3. As you can see, some of the guys getting their cars ready to roll, ready to rumble. We've got 3 of them out there. 5 people going to be in the race today. As you guys can see, we got a new camera angle here. Might help for those better viewing angles down there on Dead Man's Corner. We're excited about the new camera angle. See Randy Kirtley there getting his car ready next to Chelsea there, and Glenn Burton and Jackson as they're already ready to go. Gonna leave you guys here with the pit cam. As soon as the guys are ready to go racing, we'll be right back with you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like we're about getting ready to go racing here. Looks like we got all our racers here. Racers, are you ready? Watch your lights. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. 8 furious heats of Indy car action. 4 red lights dropping out to green. Here we go. As we see the car of Glenn Burton shot to the outside wall there. Now, whether or not Gabriel gave Glenn the old subtle boot is left up to speculation. It happened so quick. Gabriel Kirtley, of course, putting himself and Glenn Burton back on. 4 red lights drop out to a green, folks. If you like what you're seeing and you like the races here at Lanes Raceway, definitely give us a like, subscribe, ring that bell, all that jazz. Whether you're on Twitch, YouTube, or Facebook. Share to your buddies that you think might like it also. We see Chelsea there going to help the guys out and move their cars back to the start-finish line where they lose a lap. Now remember, guys, these guys have changed their motors out to Eagle motors versus the motor that comes with the cars, which is a Hawk 7. By doing that, they have also caused these cars to be quite a bit faster than what they're supposed to be. Lock gear ratio 37-12, I believe it is, or 11 in the rear, whatever it is, stock from JK. Anyways, it's just a little bit too much motor. A lot of times these cars come down in the dips of the track. You can kind of see there in front of Jackson, there's a dip there. But about every joint, there's a dip. And some of them are a lot bigger than others, especially right whenever the track starts to roll over. Well, in those dips, the chassis is compressing. It's very thin in the center portion of these JK open wheel chassis, and it'll flex down and then kind of spring back up. So if the cars being as lightweight as they are, if they're not really hammering down while that thing springs back up and the aerodynamics ain't flowing over the body, they will pop out. So you could go 90 laps in a row and nothing happened, but on that 91st lap you'll send it into the wall. So it's always best just to blip in the blip areas, which we see Jay there getting a boost of speed there and not blipping on the blip area and coming out on the high banks. These are some of the issues you have here with the IndyCar. It's also why IndyCar is pretty tough to run, but nonetheless it's very exciting, especially whenever you can keep your car under control and not be bent. That you can do quite well in this series, you know, especially as quick of accelerating it is. It's almost second to wing car, really, when it comes to accelerating. We see Jackson out in the lead right now on blue lane. He's been practicing a little bit. Got a decent coast there by Jay Latham through the high banks there on red lanes. We got another car coming off. I believe that to be Gabriel Kirtley's Menards green car coming off there. Just to reiterate, like I have been here lately, Christmas time, holiday season, it's a time for parties. Here at Lanes Raceway, we do have private packages, both birthday and parties alike. Call us, set a time up. We are the best prices in town for private events, and you can definitely get set up here. Free pinball. Well, not free. It's free once you do the package, but all the pinballs get turned on, free play, and the arcade, VR, or racing simulator, and you get 8 cars, 8 controllers, 30 minutes beforehand to set up, 30 minutes after to leave, and get everything taken care of, and all for the low price of $200. Plus you get access to the radio that we have, or I guess you call it streaming device for music, and you can select whatever genre you like. You also get control of the PA system here at Lanes Raceway. So definitely a good deal. And it's all private. We actually make it to where nobody can come in during the time you've got scheduled. So if you're looking for a good party venue, a good party to set up, and you just want to get a bunch of people together and have a pretty cheap alternative for a party, definitely call and set up a time. You got to set up 3 days in advance. Don't call day of wanting to set up a party, because we can't get that scheduled quick enough. So at least 3 days in advance. Other than that, we'll write you down on the calendar and we'll get you set up. 51 seconds left to go. Randy Kirtley now taking over the lead there on orange lane. You see him in the left-hand portion of your screen with the popsicle car as he's taking over Jackson there. Jackson running pretty impressively so far there on blue lane, keeping his car under control there. Running second place, Glenn Burden, his arch rival, right there next to him on green. Looks like some of the guys in the back are now starting to catch some of the guys up close that are 25 laps down difference from fourth place to first. Gabriel Curley, of course, having some incidents early on there on 18 laps. Whether or not it could be an issue with his car, I don't know. But he could still be running the Hawk 7 motor too, compared to everybody else's Eagle motor, because it looks like he's down a little bit on the power versus everybody else. So we see a nice coast there by Glenn Burden, actually catching up with Gabriel Curley. 19 seconds left to go. Glenn Burden, Gabriel Curley up underneath the bridge there. I think both of them are safe, but the car of Jay Latham not safe. And we see they're resting on top of the bridge there. That's Jackson, your number 2 position. Right behind him, we got Randy Kirtley, your number 1 position there in the popsicle car with 27 laps in the donut. If you're interested in getting started in slot car racing, give us a call, 270-278-1400 here at Lanes Raceway, and we will give you all the information needed to get you in one of these series. If you get into our main event Pro Series, like a bunch of these guys are here, you will get a t-shirt. You are running for a big check, or a crown in this case, and you're running for cash if the series gets sponsored. So we got 2 sponsors this past series: Fairview IT Management Cup Series and Ohio Valley Lawn Care for the late model series. So we have a $2,000 purse these guys are running for, and not to mention, they get in, they get a race. Their races for a little bit cheaper than off season. So off season, our races typically are $10.50, and we do a 50% payout, whether it be track bucks or cash. That's left up to how finances are here at Lanes Raceway. So nonetheless, we always run for a little bit of something. And I think later on today, we might, in the wing car series, run for a racing seat, which is kind of cool. So Randy Kirtley there with 32 laps, Jackson with 30, Glenn Burden with 30, Jay Latham 25, and Gabriel Kirtley 23. Still a whole lot more racing left to go. We see all the guys heading back over to their pit station here. But let's take a quick look at the standings and what they are currently right now in the IndyCar series. So as we can see, Garrett Burden, who's not here today, he's in 4th place with 570 points. Nathaniel Burden, he's in 3rd place with 660. He's also not here today. He's at a benefit. Then we also see Glenn Burden with 710 in 2nd place, holding it down, and his arch rival, Jay Latham, 730 to end up your top 4 positions here at Lanes Raceway. Minute and 33 seconds left to go. We see everybody frantically working on their cars in the pit section here. You see those boxes there? You see that box there by Gabriel Kirtley there in the gray shirt in the center of your screen? That's made by none other than Jay Latham, a guy going to green lane. He's right there behind Gabriel. Both those boxes you see are made by Jay Latham. Some of the highest quality slot car boxes known to man. Him and his dad, they have a woodworking shop, and I'll tell you what, I've never seen a box built better than what Jay's built. And he'll take them, he'll rub honey on the slides and honey. He'll rub wax from beehives on the slides. He makes that stuff just perfect. And I'll tell you what, he's got really good leather grips and stuff. We have a couple other guys here that support Jay and his box making skills, him and his dad. And I'll tell you what, they're some of the best I've ever seen. Clay Dame's got one of his version 2s. Of course, Gabriel Kirtley and Jay both rocking the version 1s. But if you're interested in any of those boxes, also give us a call here at Lanes Raceway. We can get you set up, and Jay will definitely build you one. Now, with premium style boxes come premium style prices. Nonetheless, Jay Latham makes some really good boxes, folks. I'm not messing with you here. And I'm sure if you have any kind of problems like that, Jay can get it sorted out and fixed for you. 5 seconds left to go. We got the big screen going on here, the big backstretch, the big high banks here at Lanes Raceway. Several of the cars here lined up in the high banks. We're going to start out in this cam, move over to cam 2. You see the guys rolling around there. Randy Kirtley is your leader, 34 total laps. Jackson Daugherty, 32. Him and Glenn Burden battling it out as per usual. Glenn Burden took a victory early on today in the fall 2023 GRC series. And what a race it was. Glenn Burton told Jackson last week that was the last time he was going to win, and Glenn showed up, and he showed out, to say the very least. Jackson, of course, with full setup, he has all the points needed to take home a first place, but there still leaves some gap and open area for others to catch him and tie up for a showdown shootout at the end of the series. As you guys know, we do have drops in these races, and that's what allows these guys to catch some of these other guys, especially if they missed some races or did poorly in some of the races. And this happens. So if you do bad, you can replace races. Or if you can't make it one weekend, you can make it the next. And it kind of makes it more versatile for our racers to come and get what they need to get done when they can get it done on their schedule versus Lane's Raceway schedule. Now, we do definitely pick out our days by what our guys like. So Thursdays and Sundays, that tends to be the times that our guys like to come and do their racing. So those are the days we usually use. Now, we aren't open to use any other days, whether it be for drag racing or any other kind of racing, or even pinball. Friday nights, we do Friday Night Lights here, and we turn the lights down low, do a little bit of pinball competition action. And it's quite popular here at Lane's Raceway. That's probably the clicking you've been hearing in the background. Lots of pinball play here. As we have a tournament that goes all month long, and every machine starts out at $10. Now, don't be for the faint of heart, for sure. This is not come in here and try your luck, because you will never win here. These guys that do play pinball, they do take it quite serious. So, you know, you may have a lucky ball, but these guys, they try to always progress and try to push the pinball machine to its limits, shaking, rattling, rolling, kicking, pushing, shoving. And we allow that here at Lane's Raceway because we do believe that it is one of the most skillful games of hand-eye coordination that a man can do, and both that and slot car racing requires a lot of hand-eye coordination. But nonetheless, they are some very stiff competition. IFPA, of course, you can check those out for some of the current standings of some. We got a lady, Kay, she comes down from right at Tennessee's line, and she is number one, if I'm not mistaken, in Tennessee, points-wise. So, you know, she comes down here and right there behind Glenn Burden's head. Wish I had a better view of it, but there is an Iron Maiden Translite that she ended up winning, and she brought it here, so we had her sign it. And she ended up winning that in one of the pinball tournaments that she goes to at No Quarter. No Quarter is a place in Nashville, Tennessee. We plan on getting up there one time whenever we get a little bit let up here at Lane's Raceway. Of course, with the series and stuff going on, it takes up literally every bit of my time. I feel like I have no time to do anything while series and stuff's going on, because you got to do reorders. You got to make sure the guys have enough parts. You don't want the guys wanting anything. You want the guys constantly being pleased and as happy as they possibly can. So, you know, it just takes a lot of logistics, a lot of timing, a lot of setting this kind of stuff up. The live stream, it's a whole nother job onto itself that pretty much takes my Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday getting that all situated. So basically at the end of these races, what I do is compile it all together, put titles on it. If anything interesting happens during the race, you know, we give it a little bit of a title, a description. We do the hashtags. We send it all out. We do community listings and stuff like that. And we ship all this stuff out the best that we can so that it reaches as many people as possible, because it is a niche, definitely a very small niche, very popular in the 60s, of course, slot car racing. RC pretty much kind of took some of the limelight away from slot cars when they were a thing. But nonetheless, there is still a big place here in the hearts of many when it comes to slot car racing. Glenn Burden out in the lead, Randy Kirtley there in second. Glenn's been on one today, really running hard. Jay Latham there, 59, Jackson 59. This heat's all but over, folks. All right, folks, I'm going to leave you here with the pit cam, and we'll see you guys shortly. All right, folks. So Randy Kirtley out in the lead right now. Let's take a quick look here at Randy Kirtley's player card here. LMP Thunder 2023 champion. Randy, also known as King Kirtley, is the man to beat since the rival of him and Paul Woosley in the Thunder Series. He ended up getting him the last race. Paul Woosley was up by 15 laps, but somehow or another he sucked it out there right towards the end. Currently, he's in 4th place in the Four Crowns with 1,625 points. His current position in the Fairview IT Cup is 6th, Wing Car 6th, Indy Car is 5th, and that's what he's racing for today. So he should be getting quite a few more points here to bump him up in the Indy Car. Like I said, watch out for him and Guillermo Sire for sure as we go through the backside of this series. Late model series there, Ohio Valley Lawn Care. He's currently in 6th, and that'll be coming up next around 5 o'clock. So stay tuned for that. All right, folks, 20 seconds left to go. I'm going to go ahead and try to get the chat up and rolling here. As we have not turned that on for this one. Sorry about that. So give me 1 second here. I'll get that up and going. For those that want to chat a little, we'll check on that, of course, as usual. Looks like everything's up and going. So it'll be for Twitch and YouTube. Still can't get Facebook to roll. Wish I could. A lot of people having issues that. Also with OBS and everything else, trying to get Facebook to show their live comments and stuff. Randy Kirtley, Glenn Burton, both battling it out here. Glenn Burton really strong down there on purple. We can see Glenn Burton there just right below Randy. He might actually be able to make the pass here and take over first position. Jay Latham there just 4 laps back on blue lane, 62. And Jackson 6 laps back there on black. Gabriel Kirtley, you know, he's several back now, but we'll see if he can change that and change some of the stars here. Who knows? And Jackson, of course, losing a lap there. I don't know what we're waiting on here. We're waiting on something. Looks like Gabriel Kirtley. Gabriel Kirtley, of course, getting his car set back on green lane. Minute and 49 seconds left to go. I think we're fixing to go back green racing here. As we take a look here at Jackson. Jackson claiming that he's really fast here on black lane. Knowing to blip a little bit there. I told him, I said, be careful coming around the donut. Looks like he's doing pretty good. Not hammering it as hard as he was when he was practicing. So that's going to work out in his favor as he ends up there in the high bank portion of the track. Randy Kirtley and Glenn Burton both still tied, running for the lead. Glenn Burton with a median of 3.77 and Randy with a 3.9. Randy's best was actually a 3.7. Looks like Jackson's car there fading towards the bottom side of the high banks. Hopefully he can be able to take off here as we get started back. The popsicle car of Randy Kirtley, your current second position there, was on the bridge as he comes around the high banks. And we hear a hard thud. That's Gabriel Kirtley's car smacking the wall there. The old adage always is true. Don't forget to blip. But it looks like Gabriel there disconnecting his controllers. He wants to take a look at his car, whether it be bent or whatever it may be. If he's pulling her off, he's going to take a look at it. So we go by green race, and I guess he told the guys, don't worry about the 30-second rule. Let's rock and roll. Randy Kirtley there, 72 laps. Glenn Burton, 71. Glenn Burton pushing as he comes around the horseshoe through the high banks there, back around the donut. He's running hard next to Jay Latham. Jay Latham there, of course, in the middle lanes there on blue. Him and Glenn Burton both not giving a little bit, as we see Randy Kirtley trying to join in the mix here on red lane as he comes to catch Glenn Burton. We see a little bit of a slowed down car there on blue. That's Jay Latham. Glenn Burton and Randy Kirtley both running their heart out. Looks like Randy Kirtley kind of not having a whole lot of top end speed here with his gear ratio, but that may play pretty well for him in his downforce when it comes to the back lane, as he is running wide open on red lane. So a lot of people are afraid to run wide open on red lane when it comes to the Indy cars, afraid they'll come out. But it looks like between the high downforce in the rear wing of Randy Kirtley's Indy car and the sheer gear ratio set up for torque more than top speed is definitely paying off for Randy Kirtley. He's now 2 laps up on Glenn Burton, where they started out in the heat tied up. Actually, Glenn Burton ahead of Randy just a little bit. Jay Latham getting started back at the start-finish line here, and he is 4 laps down from the lead. Jackson Darty there was 74, able to turn 15 laps so far here on black lane. Jackson Darty, of course, a strong hand in the GRC series, coming off of a win from the Little Rumble, and almost taking home a win in the Rookie Rumble, just narrowly getting beat out by Jay Latham in the final race. And Jay Latham was able to take that championship home. Glenn Burton, of course, breaking out there as Jackson Darty come off on his lane, causing him to break out. So Jackson gets put back, basically losing the lap there. And it looks like Jackson's car is coming to a stop there on black lane. Could possibly be an issue with the braid being raised up, but yet unknown. 14 seconds left to go in the heat, and Randy Kirtley is out in the lead now by 2 laps. Chelsea Kirtley, of course, grabbing Jackson's car. He's probably taking a look at his braid there, as I think that's probably the issue, or he could be bent there a little bit in the front, causing his front wheels to drag a little bit. Nonetheless, your 2 leaders here, Randy Kirtley and Glenn Burton, both on purple and red in the high banks, as Glenn Burton takes the lead there and is able to drive it a little bit deeper. Glenn Burton currently right now has a median of a 3.70, where Randy's now got her back down to a 3.74. Both these guys in the 3.5 range, as we get a red flag, yellow flag, but that's a heat over, folks. I'm going to take you here to the track mate to let you take a look between your 2 honking leaders here. 32, 32, 32 for Randy Kirtley with an average of, guessed it, 32. Glenn with a 30, 34, 30, and that's a 31.3 on average. Both of these guys really, really close, but don't count Jay Latham out, 30.7. He's really, really tight in there too. And take you over here to the pinball cam and let you look at these guys work. You can see Gabriel Kirtley there working hard on his car, trying to get her back in there. We'll see others there follow suit shortly, and we'll see you soon. When you know what?
You got a deadline.
It does.
Hey, I need a 332nd axle.
332nd axle, sir. What flavor? G7?
No.
Oh, I thought it was the most expensive.
No. The Pro Soft is just fine.
It's not flatted.
That's fine. You can throw that in there.
$4.99, sir.
Because all it has to happen is use that one time.
It is, sir. Booger.
Well, that's why I'm trying to shower. So I guess I made my axle line.
T, come here. All right, folks, I'm back. 35 seconds left to go in the heat. Randy Kirtley still in the lead. Gabriel Kirtley, of course, grabbing a pro slot axle here. And I tried to sell him on a more expensive one. He did not want to go for it. Glenn Burden there, 117. Jay Latham, 116. And Jackson, 104. Gabriel Kirtley still working on his cars. And he's right. If you do slide out just one time, that's all it takes to bend the old axle. It's one of the big reasons why I like to use flatted axles in this class. In other classes that accelerate extremely brutally. It's because when you go to tighten down the old worm gear, now, I mean, I guess this wouldn't matter if you're gluing your gears, but if you go to tighten down that worm gear on a round stock, you know, you're bending it a little bit essentially just to keep it tight. Whereas if it's flatted, you don't have to really crank it down as much. You kind of use a little blue Loctite and just run it down till it's snug, and then you don't bend the axle. Because if you come in there with that kind of speed, you hit the rear end and it's on that flat stock, you're probably going to end up bending that axle because there's so much pressure already there initially. And it's going to take the path of least resistance like everything else, and it will bend your axle. I think he's bent 2 so far. He's showing everybody his axle right now. I'm going to tell him, hey, for all those that are wondering, we do sell axles here at Lanes Raceway. Come and get you a bundle of them. Just messing with my brother a little bit. We got a red flag rotation again. I know I wasn't really here for a lot of that, but we'll take you over to the track, mate. Kind of compare our top two here. Randy Kirtley, Glenn Burden there. Just 2 laps. It's been that way all race long, but we see Jay joining in the mix there, grabbing 4 laps off of purple lane there. Robert, be careful, man.
For long.
All right.
You open back up what, Thursday?
Yep.
Thursday night, guys.
Thursday, Friday,
We
Saturday,
jumped the gun
Sunday.
last week. We thought you'd be here Wednesday.
Yeah. No, we had to shut her down on Wednesday. Wasn't doing a lot of business.
And I was down here sitting out there and we was talking to your dad for a little while. We turned to see him. We thought about calling you and telling you, hey, here we both stand. We both were boxes out standing for the door with lights out.
Dad would crack up over
Is
that.
that middle part been again?
I don't know. You'll have to look and see.
How do you tell?
You know how to tell.
No, I don't.
I've showed you.
What?
Jackson, you have got to start doing your own work, brother. It's been 8 months. I've showed you this technique 20 times.
No, talking about the vein down here you did earlier. When we got tapped.
You got to put it on the block and see. You got to look for those air gaps, and you got to measure those air gaps in your mind. So if one side's about to drag the ground, guess what? It's lower than the other side. And you wouldn't look at it, if you're looking for the side, you wouldn't look at it down the straight pipe. You'd look down from the side. And you compare that side with what other side? The left side. Now, can you tell the difference between the two sides? Okay. So if you're good, you're good. If you're not, then one side's lower than the other, and you're dragging. I mean, Weston knows how to work on his stuff. When the race is over, I'll look at it for you. But while it's going on, I can't in good conscience do that to the rest of the racers. All right, man. Drive your heart out. $30 seconds left to go, folks. Go ahead and take you back here to cam 1 and 2. Let's get this thing going. We see Jay Latham lining his car up. That voice you heard here a while ago, that was Action Jackson, also known as Gold Dust, coming in here. And he was wanting me to take a look at his car to see if it was bent side to side. I looked at it before we started the race. It was fine, but really trying to work on Jackson a little bit, trying to get him to do his own work a little bit, trying to get him to figure out how to get these cars bent back right. And I think just doing it for him is not working. So I'm just trying to step back a little bit and let him try to figure some of these things out. We got a sticker still left in blue lane. Looks like maybe Randy Kirtley's having some issues with his car, possibly. Everybody's telling Chelsea to hurry up so they can start the race on that. He is definitely hard competition, folks. If you're good at racing slot cars, you would fit right in with Randy Kirtley because he is pretty tough to beat. So you see Jay Latham's car go to the high side there in the bank and get sent. You got to think about how much pressure is being applied to these really flexible cars here when they go through that high banks. I know from the camera it's kind of hard to see how high it's banked, but if we take a look here at the oval, you can kind of look up there in the upper right hand portion of your track and see that thing's almost a 45-degree angle. So, you know, real oval tracks or orange tracks like ones made by American, they are definitely not as banked as that. They're almost flat. Like you have to let off on them. But this one, we call it a tangerine. It's a little bit shorter than a full-size American orange, and it has a huge bank. You can run it wide open, but sometimes they spring out when they come outside on the other end of the high bank. And it's just because of how much they're pushing down. These, you can literally hear the chassis scrape from where they're compressing the tires going through there. Well, I mean, you can see the tires also just laying down there in the high banks. You see all those black marks. That's all rubber being laid down. Gabriel Kirtley pulling his car off yet again, having some issues. Randy Kirtley now just one lap difference from him and Glenn Burden as we see a stalled out car here from Jackson. Could be as simple as his brakes are just a little too low on his car, not getting connection there. And Jackson trying to get any info he can from the other racers right now, wanting to know what's wrong with his car. You know, this is the importance of kind of learning things while you go. I think a lot of times the guys were just, the kiddos in the rookie series, that is, they were just thinking I was just going to constantly fix their car every time, but that was what the purpose of the rookie series was for, was to teach these kids. And, you know, some of them listened, some of them didn't. Weston Durham, he kind of stands out. He can now work on his car pretty efficiently. He's not perfect at it, but he can definitely do quite well. What are you guys looking for? Minute and 20 seconds left to go. It looks like the braid roller's gotten brought out. Looks like maybe Black Lane having some issues there. Jay Latham going to get her rode down. A lot of times what happens, these cars, they roll in so deep, and they accelerate when they're not supposed to, and it ends up pushing into the braid. You got to kind of go with the flow of the track, kind of be a part of the track more so than just pushing the trigger down and hammering into a corner. You don't gain speed by pushing the car through the beginning of the corner. You gain speed by exiting efficiently and, knowing when to brake on the initial part, beginning part of the corner. It's all about weight transfer, especially in these slot cars. So, a lot of guys, though, they have to make risky maneuvers really, really quick. And that's what a lot of times happens going around that horseshoe. They got to try to push in front of a car and get the car in front of them so that they can get their back end next to them and kind of make them let off. Or the guys on the outside, of course, would go to the outside of the wall from taking a shot from their rear end. So that's where that all boils in. I think a lot of the times these guys just running really deep with each other, trying to get advantage on one another. As we can see, Randy Kirtley here coming up behind Glenn Burden. We see, Jay Latham coming off yet again in the high banks. It's been thrown up in the air about maybe running hard bodies or something like that on the Indy cars, which would give them a little bit more weight, keep them from springing as much. We've tossed around quite a few things for the upcoming series. I believe we have settled on hard bodies for sure. Now, whether or not we're going to run stomp motors or Eagle motors and stuff that we got now, I don't know. It really just depends on if we're able to get a hold of maybe some brushless motors or something, but we're always trying to push to the next limit of whatever slot car racing can maybe be. We're limited to just what the technology is, I guess. Anyways, that's what we really want to do. We'll kind of push it forward and see what we can come up with when it comes to a series and keep it very competitive. Glenn Burton there sliding around Dead Man's Corner coming out. Getting reseated here on the start-finish line. 14 seconds left to go in this round-robin heat, 5 of 8. And Randy Kirtley is going to finish in first here, 161. So we come over here looking at the track mate. Randy been running about 32-33 all race long. His average is a 32.2. Right behind him, 31.8. Really close behind him is Glenn Burden, able to make that 34 lap there on blue lane, which so far is the lead for laps turned. Jay Latham also turning 34 on green and on purple. So Jay definitely somebody to keep an eye on also. Jackson, of course, running all his lower lanes. He's going to be moving up to the higher side. We'll probably see that average drop a smidge. But nonetheless, with what Jackson's had to work with car-wise, he's doing quite well, too. Only 9 laps or so down from Jay Latham. So we take a quick look over here at our current leader of the series here, Jay Latham. Haven't looked at him in a bit. Rookie Rumble champion, LMP Thunder. He placed 6th place. One of his quotes there, "I beat you," as he told Jackson. And right now, Jay's doing quite well in all the series, as you can tell. He's first place in the crown with 2,360 points. That's updated from last week. Fairview IT Cup Series, he's currently in first place. Wing Car, he's currently in fourth. So he's even up high on the hog there, trying to get into that podium. That is the only series that he hasn't podiumed points-wise so far. IndyCar, he's currently first, and he's trying to hold that down. And the late model series, he's currently second. So we'll see how the rest of the day works out for Jay, but he is definitely bouting out for the top positions. Know that coming up next, we will be having the Ohio Valley Dirt Late Model Series here at 5 o'clock. Definitely a very competitive little series. Probably going to see the same people here that are in this series running in that race. So a little bit lighter of a racing situation coming up at around 5 o'clock, just simply because we don't have a full track. So some people will get a little bit of a break here. We might even see a record or two being broke there in the Ohio Valley Dirt Late Model. We'll just have to wait and see. Going to leave you here with Cam 1 and 2, and we'll be back in about 40 seconds. Randy Kirkley and Glenn Burden really battling it out. 166 for Randy Kirkley there on purple, really carrying the speed well through the donut portion of the track. As we get another wreck to the outside wall here, just who I was talking about, Randy Kirkley there. This was the issue that we seen Jackson having before we started the race there on Black Lane. His car would come out in a similar spot there. It's too much acceleration there. That track, believe it or not, kind of dips off right there just a little, and if you're fully into the speed right there or in the trigger, it will cause the car to shoot right into the wall. So we see Jackson doing something here. I don't know exactly what he's doing. Still talking about his car. Of course, Jackson's car is bent, folks. If you didn't know, it is surely bent on one side or the other because he keeps popping out. These flexi chassis, though, they're pinned together in the rear with a piece of piano wire, and it's an ordeal to get them back bent straight. It's something that you really need to do before the race starts. Actually, before you even race day, you need to have this thing flatted and trued up beforehand. Of course, we got it brought to us right at race time. There's no way of getting that thing fixed right without bending the wire, and you don't want to do that. You want the wire to be straight in the back, and you want to bend the flexi portion of it, but you got to take the whole chassis apart to do that, to get it back right. So basically what he's doing, he's leaning out on his right side here of his chassis, and whenever it drags going through the high banks or in certain positions, it's pulling its guide flag out just enough to where it doesn't make good connection. That's why a lot of times you'll see him stalled out on the high banks portion of the track, because the body or the chassis itself is actually pulling him out. So as bad as I'd want to get his car fixed, it's legit just not possible to do during a race. Now, could I torque his chassis and make it work? Well, then that'll issue a lot more problems than what he's going through right now. So instead, all I tell him is, you know, you need to get that stuff fixed and work on it yourself whenever you're off the track. And, you know, then he can take his time and figure that kind of stuff out. He won't figure it out unless he does take time. He has to take time, calm himself down, and, you know, take it apart piece by piece, write it down on a piece of paper, or take pictures each time he takes it apart, and be methodical about it when it comes to working on these cars, because that's what it takes. It's all about the details in slot car racing. Every little detail matters. You know, you kind of want a little float in that chassis, and if you don't have that float, you know, your car is just really not going to be loose enough to handle well, and that's what it takes. So, you know, Randy Kirtley, of course, and Glenn Burton both have their stuff set up quite well here, as they're running pretty impeccable here so far, within 3 laps of each other. A little bit of a separation between them after that, but Glenn, he's on one tonight, folks. It's the Glenn of old that I remember back in the basement days. Glenn Burton really sending it home here as Jay Latham gets in contact up on top of the bridge with Jackson Darty. And it looks like Randy Kirtley is going to be able to escape that mess, though, as his car stays in right before the horseshoe. Now back there on Orange Lane, we see Glenn Burton fixing to pass the start-finish line, as he's going to come into traffic with Jay Latham and with Jackson Darty. So we'll see how well he gets through the donut, but if anything is an inclination of what Glenn's been doing here recently, he's going to make it through just fine. Glenn's been like on a tear here today, and we can see how fast his Indy car is as he blisters past the white lane of Jackson Darty. That's a heat over, folks, and we're going to take a quick look here, and we can see just how fast Glenn has been motivating here. Like I said, Glenn and Jay have been pretty tight there the whole time, but Jay having a very sufferable moment both on red and on black. Those tight corners really played him pretty badly. Glenn Burns, of course, still got 2 heats left, and one of them is red lane, but if it's anything like what he did on black lane, we're going to see Glenn do quite well on red lane also. As for Jackson, 166, bent car, not too bad for a bent car. Gabriel Kirtley, of course, retiring his car for this race weekend. Taking a quick look back at the standings, we can see Jay Latham. He's holding it down, folks, currently in 3rd place in this race. This is going to be a benefit for Glenn, as last week Jay was able to take the win. Now it's going to be an equal exchange back for Glenn, so Glenn's going to be able to gain about 5 points up on Jay. And that's what Glenn needs to do from here on out, is gain those 5-10 points every race. And Nathaniel Burton, of course, not here today. He's currently in 3rd, and neither is Garrett. So he's probably safe there, staying in 3rd till next week, unless Randy Kirtley gets a 1st place here and maybe boosts him up. I think Randy currently is in 5th position. Take you guys over here to the pinball cam. You can see the guys working on their cars. See Gabriel Kirtley trolling the internet. He's probably on lanesraceway.com right now, checking out all of the point standings, and probably on our YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook page, seeing who he can bug about slot car racing. 1 minute and 11 seconds left to go. We'll be right back with you. Here we go, back racing, folks. Evidently, old Jackson, his car, burning the motor down as he applies too much voodoo juice, as we call it, the Voods here at Lanes Raceway. Had a little conversation with him and Gabriel Kirtley a while ago, and I walked out there and I was like, man, somebody's motor's about to smoke. And Jackson's like, it's mine. So Jackson trying to keep up with the pack, or where he's dragging that chassis so much, causing just too much work for that motor to do. That motor is starting to smoke. So I don't know which one it is, but I do know Jackson does partake and giving his car the voodoo drops. So everybody knows about the voodoo drops there in slot car land, and they are not healthy for a car. It's the equivalent on a human variety of methamphetamine for cars. So short term, yeah, I guess you can get some speed out of it. Long term, you're going to blow your motor. It's going to soften your brushes, and they're just going to fall apart, essentially. Kind of like how meth softens teeth. But, you know, I mean, that's kind of a dark analogy, but nonetheless, that's the case. Randy Kirtley there in the lead, and there goes Glenn Burden in second place as he gets a little bit of a shove. Four red lights dropping out to a green, and we're going back racing. Jay Latham, he's kind of holding steady there in third position, able to gain a couple laps so far on Glenn from the wreck and everything. We'll see if he can pull it back. Jay Latham has had a fast Indy car here at Lanes Raceway, and when I say fast, I'm talking here recently. Jay Latham has had a smoke show of a car. See, Holmes, four red lights drop out to a green, and Gabriel Kirtley is retired. Got him a Butterfinger for the road, and I believe a Freshka, folks. We do stock pretty cool drinks here at Lanes Raceway and snacks. So nonetheless, if you're interested in that, definitely stop in and get you something. You don't even have to slot car race. We got some cool stuff here, whether you slot car race or not. 12 seconds left to go. Randy Kirtley, 225. Glenn Burden, 218. Jay Latham creeping up behind Glenn. Will Glenn be able to hold Jay off? I don't know. Will Jackson be able to keep his car from blowing up? Still a little bit of racing left to go. We got this heat and one more to go, but it's 4-lap difference separating Glenn from Jay, and I know Jay is not wanting to stand down. Allow Glenn to get any foothold on his current lead in the Four Crowns. And Randy Kirtley's going to be in the lead by 8 laps next to Glenn Burden here as we head over to the track mate to take a quick look. We can see Glenn Burden there in second place with 221. Jay Latham with 217. Like I said, he is right there nipping on the heels, 5 laps back from Glenn. And Action Jackson himself, he is several laps back, but like I said, also having quite a few problems here early on with his car. And Gabriel Kirtley completely out of the race as his car bent an axle and he has retired. So we take a look here. We see Jay there. We just take a look at him. So let's go to someone we haven't really looked at that isn't here currently today that is a part of the top 4. That's Nathaniel Burden. Top 4 right now currently, maybe the only time we'll see him with that pink spoiler on the late model series. He took over first last week from Glenn Burden. And now after this week, you know, of course, having our high hitters, Jay and Glenn, Glenn's most likely going to pull that first place back this week. So it's kind of disappointing not to see Nathaniel here with his pink spoiler. But like I said, I'll cut that thing out and I'll give it to him anyway. He can have it for a souvenir. Or he might fight back and get that first place back. As we can see, he is a podium master here. Him like Jay, he's only got one series that he's not in the podium with. I'll leave you guys here with Cam 1 and 2, and we'll be right back with you. All right, folks, we're back. 4 red lights dropping out to green. We're going back green racing. Do not forget, mark your calendar. December the 17th is our championship night, championship Sunday. Blake Smith from Let's Talk Racing is going to come and commentate the races that day. Whether he wants me to help him or not, I don't know. But he is a professional commentator. He is a professional behind the microphone. I think he went to school for it, if I'm not mistaken. Nonetheless, he is quite well when it comes to speaking over microphones, and we're excited to have him come down here. I know the guys are real excited. Hopefully he'll sign some autographs. That'd be pretty nice. Nonetheless, definitely mark your calendar for that. Stay tuned for that. It's going to be great. It's going to be a good time. Also that day, we're going to announce what we're going to be running in our January series coming up. And we're also going to be setting a date for our banquet to where that we will crown the winners. And, of course, we'll tally up all the scores and get all that going. And sometime in January, I'm sure, unless the guys want to do it sometime in February, we will host our banquet. We'll do that live, of course, and you'll hear the racers get to talk about what they want to talk about when they come up to receive their money and their prizes. And, what they think about Lanes Raceway as a whole. So we're excited about that. It's going to be pretty fun. This is our final heat here tonight for the Indy on the Road course. And I know it's just getting the track warmed up for our fierce competition of the wing coming up at 7 o'clock. I know a lot of people are ready to do that wing car race, and these guys have been preparing their cars for a week and a half now for the wing car race. So we'll see how that changes, and see if anybody else shows up to want to try to be a little bit of competition for others. It's a beautiful, clear day, but man, I'll tell you what, it's brisk out there, folks. It's a little chilly. Winter definitely settling in. We see Glenn Burden and Jay Latham just a couple laps difference from one another. I don't know whether or not Jay Latham's going to be able to pull it from Glenn, but they're neck and neck, side by side, as we see Jay Latham rolling up underneath around the donut portion as he tries his best to catch Glenn Burden. But Glenn Burden just really cranking that red lane home. You can hear the whistle when he comes down the backstretch. And I'll tell you, right behind him is Randy Kirtley. Randy Kirtley running impeccably here tonight there on Yellow Lane. 256 total laps, about 10 or 11 laps ahead of Glenn Burden, just running smooth, no wrecks, nothing like that. That's what it takes, folks. Good, hard determination. All these guys have got it. I've seen them progress so much just in the past year. Beautiful racing, beautiful racing. This is the kind of stuff that I love to watch. I love to see. I sit here, I can watch them race slot cars all day long, and when they really get into it, there's nothing like it. So that's the end of the race here. The wife is going to come here and get a picture of the track mate for our point standings. Randy Curley is going to bring home the victory tonight. The highest laps turned was 34 laps here at Lanes Raceway, and that was done by several people, Glenn, Jay, and Randy. Glenn Burton's going to take home second place, 252, and Jay Latham's going to bring it home with 249 for your top three. Jackson right there, pretty close within a few laps, even though he had some hard trouble with his car. Gabriel Kirtley, of course, retiring early. Randy Kirtley, Glenn Burton, and Jay Latham, would you please go to the podium for your picture? All right, folks. So that's it for the IndyCar Pro Series here at Lanes Raceway for this weekend. As you guys see how it turned out, Randy Curley was nice, smooth behind the trigger. Glenn Burden there for a bit. Within the same amount of laps as Randy Curley, a couple wrecks set him back a little bit. Same thing happened to Jay. A lot of cars coming off in the high banks today. We seen Jackson tear his car up a little bit, get her bent up, almost smoked a motor in the 6th heat. Come back somehow or another, the motor fooled him. But nonetheless, it was pretty eventful little race, nice and smooth transaction. Not a whole lot of wrecks to be had. Down on players, essentially, down on racers. Gabriel Kirtley there, of course, retiring early with the bent axle. But what a race it was. Thank you guys for tuning in here for the IndyCar Series here at Lanes Raceway. Tune back in next week. We'll have the IndyCar on the oval, and you know how much fun that is. The oval tends to be pretty brutal, a lot like the Fairview IT Cup Series. Nonetheless, we'll see you guys coming up here in about an hour for the Ohio Valley Dirt Late Model Series. And this is Donovan Kirtley. God bless you, and I'll see you then.